We're going to talk Everton now, and I'm delighted to say that Dave Johnson from the Falcon Blues joins us on the line. Dave, it's really good to talk to you, and also good to talk to you as well with some positivity after the game against Bournemouth last Saturday.
Yeah, definitely making change, doesn't it, Paul? Good to hear from you. Good to speak to you. Hope you're doing all right.
Yeah, doing really good, actually. And, we follow Liverpool, we follow Everton on this show. And when you look back to that performance against Bournemouth last Saturday, 3 goals, 3 points, and significantly a much improved performance from Everton.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back at the results that we've had, the Luton game was such a disappointment that we needed a reaction like that. We needed to be... especially when you look at other results that weren't quite going Everton's way. Newcastle putting 8 or 9 past Sheffield United as well, and you're like, well, Everton have had more than enough chances to be putting teams away. Maybe not on that such a level, but in a form that Everton are playing good football, but just aren't finding the net, and that's been the biggest problem all season. And I think Bournemouth the other day just proved just what we're capable of. I mean, we played well, but I'm not going to take anything I'm not going to be too drastic over it, because I think Bournemouth were really poor as well. And with Everton's performances of recent weeks, we needed it. We needed a poor team to come to Everton, to come to Goodison, and just to be beaten convincingly, just to get everyone on the side of the team and on the side of Sean Dyche, because I think he's been in for a lot of criticism over recent weeks, and rightly so, with some of the results and some of the performances. But like you say, Saturday last week was just a breath of fresh air and much needed.
I did see a few comments after the game saying that the only disappointment for Everton really was because Bournemouth were so poor that Everton only scored 3 goals from their 25 shots at goal or whatever. So, potentially it could have been more for Everton last Saturday. And we should mention that the last time Everton scored more than 1 goal at home in a Premier League game was that 3-0 win over Crystal Palace a year ago. So a much needed win for Everton, but clearly some very noticeable performances as well.
Yeah, and also that's the first time we've scored at the Gladys Street end since May, when we got beat by Newcastle. So yeah, a much needed performance, a much better all round performance from the team. When you talk about saying we should have scored more goals, definitely, we hit the bar. Onana's had a shot just wide of the post, as did Dwight McNeil. We probably could have had maybe 4 or 5, probably could have been 2 or 3 up before half time. But it's been the story of Everton's season. We could have been 2 or 3 up early in most games of this season, and you can take your pick all season. You can look at games and go, right, okay, Fulham, Wolves probably should have been out of sight by half time, and not losing those games and not losing them at Goodison.
And let's talk about James Garner as well, because his first Premier League goal last weekend. And I think with James Garner, he's a player who is now showing the potential to really shine at Everton. Yeah,
I mean, you saw what he was capable of at Notts Forest when he was there prior to moving to Everton, when he was on loan. United fans are absolutely sick that they've lost him, and United loss is Everton's gain. But I think he's come into the fold there from he's had a serious injury that kept him out of most of last season, and we've missed a lot of that. We probably missed that impetus and that bit of injection of a bit of awareness on the pitch when players have lost their head a little bit. But everything seemed to go through James Garner the other week, and it was just so good to see that it's finally we've got a player in there who's willing to get on the ball and move the ball, get the ball moving, rather than having to play it backwards, play it to the side. And playing him in the middle is a lot. Everton fans have been screaming out for that most of the season, and not playing him on the wing where he's largely ineffective. So to put him in the middle, as he did against Bournemouth, was just brilliant, and it showed. And now you've got to look at saying, well, he's probably one of your first on the team sheet, and especially if you're picking your midfield 3 between your 4 and 5 with Doucouré, with Garner, with Amadou Onana, you got to make that big decision. And I think he almost had the decision made for him on Saturday. So now he's got to think, well, that worked. Can I take that into the derby?
Well, this is it. And as you say, the calls for Garner to play in his natural position have grown in the last few weeks. So clearly, we'll see what develops from there in terms of future games. We know, of course, that Idrissa Gana-Gueye was initially named as James Garner's central midfield partner on Saturday. But then there was an injury in the warm-up, which meant that Onana took his place. And I've got to say, it wasn't just Onana who played well last Saturday, but their entire central midfield seemed to raise their game.
Yeah, I think it'd be difficult to pick out the man of the match from that 11 last week, because every single one of them worked the socks off. I mean, even from the back, Mikalenko, who I haven't been as big as fan, and he hasn't been playing particularly well in recent months, has been solid since the Arsenal game. Arsenal at home, he was probably one of the ones who come out with a bit of credit. But with him, when you're looking at midfield now, bringing in Jack Harrison, McNeil's back from injury and he's fit again, it just looks a completely different midfield. And it's got drive, it's got pace, it's got a bit of needle in there that people want the ball. And I think when you've got players like Takore, who likes to drive, Garner, who can pick out a pass, Jack Harrison, who likes to get stuck in with a tackle, and McNeil, who likes to run similar to Takore and getting into the channels, we've got a really strong midfield there. We've just got to utilise it better.
And I think in terms of Gana-Gueye, yes, we know he missed the game last Saturday, but you'd have to say he's still got a major part to play, hasn't he, in Everton's campaign this season?
Of course. I mean, I think as long as you don't tell him to shoot and to pick a pass out to someone in a blue shirt, he'll be fine. He does a lot of the work that maybe Onana doesn't quite do, or Takore doesn't really get involved in. He's that ball winner, and just get the ball, give it off, and get gone. And that's what we need to be doing. And I think that's what Gana-Gueye needs to do. He's not getting any younger now. I think he's coming to the slight of his career where it's like, okay, maybe I can't do all the running, all the tackling, all the passing that I used to be able to, which got me the move to PSG. But I think now he's got to look at it and go, we'll play him just in front of the defenders behind that midfield, and work on that midfield between Onana, James Garner, and Takore, and do something like that instead. And maybe just bringing in Gana-Gueye when legs are tired, we're not quite chasing the game, we're trying to defend the win, and he's got that drive to want to win the ball and to keep the defence solid and tight, if you like.
And you see, there are so many positives we can take from that game as an Evertonian listening to this. Let's talk Jack Harrison, because, of course, that superb strike, his first for the club, was some goal that he scored, wasn't it?
Yeah, you don't get taught stuff like that. That's instinct, and it was a superb goal. Everyone's watching it going, that's going over, and it's gone off the underside of the crossbar, and everyone's just gone bonkers. And to be fair to him, he's come into the side, and he's been a breath of fresh air. He's running the players. He's quick with the ball. He likes the ball at his feet, and he likes to try and take defenders on. And I think if we can keep him fit, if he can stake a claim in this Everton side, there's no reason why we shouldn't be looking at trying to make a deal for him, either in January or at the end of the season, because I think he'll be a big acquisition, especially if someone like Gana-Gueye eventually gets moved on because of for his age or whatever reason. But I think with the youth in this side now, the age, you've got James Garner, who's in early 20s, you've got Onana, you've got McNeil. There's all young lads within this side that are all ready, and we've got players in there for the long term, which is great to see. And if we can add Jack Harrison to it, if he can keep fit, if he can keep going with the performances he's been putting in, I think he'd be absolutely superb for Everton.
And I think with, Jack Harrison back to fitness as we saw last Saturday, and also making his first Premier League start, do you think that there was a balance to the Everton side that we haven't seen for some time?
Of course, yeah, you could see it. I mean, like we said, we put James Garner into midfield, and then you had two natural wingers in McNeil and Harrison, who you can play them on the left and the right and be comfortable in the knowledge that they're going to just stick there and do the work. Whereas James Garner's that type of player who really isn't suited to that kind of wing play, and it's easier for him to be in the midfield dictating the play. And because of that, you've got those three. Then you've got you got Onana and Decore chasing balls down, winning the ball and getting it and playing smart passes to each other. And the balance was unbelievable. I think, like I say, as I said before, I'm not saying that it was the perfect performance, because I also think the Bournemouth were very good. But I think it just gives us that little bit extra confidence to say, okay, this is how the midfield should look. This is how the midfield should work, and what kinds of effort we should be seeing week in, week out. You know, if you want to spread the goals around, great. That's exactly what we want. But we need to be feeding the strikers, and if you've got that balance of a solid central midfielder and your two wingers, you're halfway there.
And of course, you know, it's easy to talk about Everton's strength in midfield and up front last Saturday, but we should also mention Jordan Pickford in goal, because he was really impressive. A clean sheet last weekend and also a couple of excellent saves as well.
Again, Jordan is your Mr. Reliable in the side, isn't he? You know what you're getting with Pickford. I think it's just being unfair that we've been in such a mess that, you know, we've won points because of Pickford. Last season, we've won games because of Jordan, not because of the 10 in front of him. Jordan has basically won games for us on his own in some situations. So to now have Pickford in there, as you say, is a solid goalkeeper, probably one of the best in the league, best in Europe. And I'll confidently say that. I won't go on this Ramsdale argument and stuff like that. He's arguably one of the best in Europe, and no one really seems to take notice of that. But then you've got a solid defence there of, you know, you've got Tarkowski and you've got young Jared Brantwaite, who for me is going to be probably the next John Stones. He's looking that confident and looking that good that, if, you know, we've tied him down to a new contract, and that is absolutely perfect for Everton, whether or not, you know, we get many years out of him. But for now, we've got him. We've got a solid defence now. I think we just need to maybe work on, you know, the fullback situation with Mikalenko and, you know, Ashley Young, Nathan Patterson. You know, but I think that's going to come. I think that's going to come probably sometime January when we start looking again in the window. But there's a balance, like you just said. There's a balance to the team. There's a balance to all aspects now. You know, we've got a solid defence. We've got a working midfield, and we've got two strikers there who are, you know, Calvert-Lewin's getting in the goals. Beto's making a nuisance of himself. It's just a little bit more positive around Everton, and I think that's what we've needed. There's been all the talk off the pitch, which is sort of deflected onto the pitch, which hasn't been fair on the team. And I think now is the time. Okay, the team's doing the right stuff. Let's concentrate on the team and worry about everything else.
And of course, you know, yeah, absolutely. And of course, you know, this is the season as well, where you would hope that Dominic Calvert-Lewin can possibly continue injury-free. He gave an interview this week in which Calvert-Lewin said that he's gone from boy to man in his period on the sidelines. Now, we know that Dominic Calvert-Lewin has suffered multiple long-term injuries in the last couple of seasons, but, you know, he's come back into the side. He scored 3 goals in 3 games prior to last weekend. And I just want to quote to you, Dave, something that DCL said. He said, "It's true that you learn the most about yourself in difficult times. I'm not a very patient person, but I've had to be patient, working so hard to get back and then having another upset. That was the most difficult part. I can't really put into words how happy I am to be back playing for Everton. I think you can see it on my face." And I think it is clear, isn't it, looking at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, that he's got a huge respect for this club and also for the fan base as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a fan of DCL. I think he gets a fair bit of unfair criticism and unfair stick because of his off the pitch, his off the pitch things that he gets up to. But that's him. Let him get on with that. I think he does his talking on the pitch, which is great to see. Like you say, 3 goals, 3 games, absolutely brilliant. You know, he wasn't on the score sheet against Bournemouth, but he was absolutely everywhere on Saturday. He was absolutely superb, put in such a shift, and hopefully, like you say as well, you know, the injuries are hopefully long behind him. I think Dyche has played the blinder with him in not rushing him back the way Benitez did, the way Lampard did, because of their desperation to get a striker in. But fair play to Dyche, he's been patient with him. He's allowed him to, you know, get as much fitness as he can. If he's had a setback, okay, I'm still not going to rush you back. You know, he's brought him back in games. I think it was Arsenal and Dyche's first game of his career, and he's brought him back. Calvert-Lewin was ace, and then he was out again for 3 months, or however long it was, and we missed him. And we missed him for the opening few games there where he's not been available, and now he is available. He's fully fit, hopefully. He's raring to go. He's scored on goals. He's making things happen up the top. He's getting involved in more than he should, I think, as well. I think you sometimes see him doing the work for the midfield at times, which is great, and that's what you want to see. But I'd just sooner see him further up the pitch, sticking the ball in the net and being where he needs to be. And I think just the midfield needs to get on his level. And once they do that, Everton will tick, and we'll be scoring goals easily and freely once that all starts coming together.
And clearly with, having players coming back to fitness and also some very impressive performances from the younger players, Dave, this all gives Sean Dyche a potential selection headache, doesn't it, for all the right reasons? And I guess it's a nice problem to have going into the Merseyside derby at Anfield next Saturday.
Yeah, it makes a change. Usually we're picking out the bones of who we've got as any kind of, we'll end up with a striker out or someone will get injured in training. I think my advice to Dyche this week is to just let them just play them in bubble wrap all week. When you look at the Liverpool side there, Andy Robertson's gone off with a bad injury for Scotland the other night. And in a game he probably, I know it was a qualifier and everything, but it's like these games are being played in the middle of a season. And when players are getting injured like that, and we've had a lot of injuries throughout the whole of the season with a lot of players, not just on international duty, but I just think with stuff like that, it's like, well, what's going on? Why are we playing these tournaments in the middle of a season? I know it's difficult to try and play them any other time, but you've got to be like, well, hang on, our season started. And we're losing players to silly injuries, to bad injuries. In Robertson's case, I think it was a broken wrist or something like that. I imagine he'll be back because he's that kind of lad. But at the same time, it's like, well, they're picking up silly little injuries and silly little tweaks here and there and stuff like that. So I'd be looking this week to just say, listen, we're just going to play Sabutio or something. We're not going to be playing any kind of heavy football. We're just going to be, working on tactics, working on drills and working on set pieces and stuff like that, but not in heavy, and just make sure that we've got a fully fit side for the derby, because that's what we need. We need to get 3 points. And I think with the away form that we've had the recent weeks, this is a time where we could possibly snatch something. It's on Dyche to make sure he's got a fully fit squad.
And of course, it's going to be interesting to see what changes, if any, Dyche makes from the team that beat Bournemouth last Saturday, whether that was his preferred starting 11 and whether he'll make any changes ahead of the Liverpool game.
Well, this is what I was saying. I think it was more a forced change, wasn't it? Because he was saying he wasn't playing Onana for whatever reason, and he was playing Garner Gay. So his full strength side was the side that he put out, but it was forced and it was on him. He's had to make that decision. He's had to make that change of bringing in Onana for Garner Gay. So it's an enforced starting 11. So he wasn't starting with Onana before then. He was starting with Garner Gay. So I think he needs to realise now that 11 on the pitch is his strongest side at the moment, until he's got either his fullbacks are fit, or he's able to do something with his strikers. But he needs to learn that. I think he'll go on about attitudes and everything else with players and stuff like that. But that was the one there. That 11 is his starting 11. Should be a starting 11 for the derby. And I think, like I said about Idrissa Gueye, bring him in when legs are tired, when we're having to, we're chasing the game or whatever, or we're actually defending a solid lead. I think that's when you should be bringing in Garner, due to his age and his circumstances and stuff like that. But that 11 there should be starting at the derby.
And of course, we know, Dave, that momentum is a big thing in football, and I reckon most Evertonians, of course, after that performance last weekend, would have liked to have been playing today. Obviously, that's not the case with the international break, but that performance for Everton last Saturday was exactly the performance that Everton needed to put in heading into the Merseyside derby next weekend.
Definitely, because also if you look at it, it's with the third round cup game against Villa, it was 2 away wins on the spin in the space of the week, and obviously we lost that game to Luton, which was unfortunate. But the away form prior to that, we beat Doncaster, we drew with Sheffield United, we beat Brentford convincingly 3-1. We then got and beat Villa 2-1 away from home, and then it's just because of this one coming round so quick now that it's been like, okay, we could have done with maybe not quite the derby, but another team away from home, just to give us that little bit more. Okay, we've got a game before, then we've got the derby, because coming off the international break, 2 weeks off, it's anyone's game really, then, isn't it? It's like Liverpool are now having, like, they've been going on about the number of 12:30 kickoffs they've been having after the international break and things like that. So they'll be worried about that because they've got this hoodoo over the 12:30 kickoffs and stuff like that. So the confidence and the ball should be in Everton's court to go in and to go on and do something about it.
Well, we will see what develops, and we'll see what happens next Saturday. 12:30 kickoff, of course, as you say, for the Merseyside derby. Dave, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I think our time is up on this Saturday, but thank you for your thoughts. And all being well, we'll speak again very soon.
Pleasure, Paul. Yeah, nice one. Thanks very much.
There you go. That's Dave Johnson from the Falcon Blues talking about that performance, of course, for Everton last weekend and where Everton go from here. And, of course, as I say, the Merseyside derby, 12:30 next Saturday.